This is cool. So last year we were delaying things because we couldn't get the internal AV working, and now I think we're waiting on the live stream to kick in. So, who's here at Hatch for the first time? Welcome. That's a lot of people. Cool. Okay, cool. Good time to come and grab a seat if you're here. So welcome to Hatch Pitch. Hatch Pitch Summit 2019. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to everybody that's joining us on our live stream. We'll be doing that again this year. Everybody in the room can participate, and everybody on the web can participate through our live stream, so it's an interactive process that we're having here. Let me tell you a little bit about Hatch Pitch. We're the pitch competition for technology startups making life better. And we've been around for 8 years. And this year, we're really doubling down on the making life better thing. What does that mean to us? Sustainability. And I'm going to talk to you about that later. The companies that you're going to see pitching today, that's one of the major criteria that we've used in selecting these companies. The Twitter hashtag is HatchPitch. Hashtag HatchPitch. Real simple. Go ahead and use that. So
I'm glad.
It's very important, right?
No, that's perfect.
So the schedule today, we really got 2 major parts to the event. We've got 4 companies will pitch. We are all going to participate in scoring and judging those companies, and we will end up with a judge 1, 2, 3 component. We've got 3 judges here. We've got about 10 judges that are hidden in the audience. If you're in the room, you can identify them. They've got a little red sticky on them. You're not allowed to bribe them, so that's why we only told you that now. The second part of the event is a breakout session where we're going to gather around those tables at the back, and we have a leader for 4 separate topics, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And then finally, we'll wrap up with presenting the results of the judging that you in the room, our judges, and everybody on the live stream can all vote. So we're going to end up with a judge 1, 2, 3. We're going to end up with an audience favorite, and we're going to end up with a crowd favorite, and that's how we break down the judging. So that's how everybody can participate. What do I need to do next? I think we are at this point where we like to think of ourselves as a community at Hatch Pitch. Our startups, so far in the 8 years, we've had 84 startups come through. They've raised over $360 million collectively, and there's been 10 exits that I counted most recently. We love having our alumni come back, and there's several of them in the room today. One who absolutely always is doing something so awesomely different every time. We like to hear kind of this ongoing story. Is somebody from our 2012 finalist group who was placed in the top winners, and has one of the companies that exited, and has gone on to do a bunch of different things, and I hope he's going to tell us a little bit about them, including just maybe a second or two on his latest endeavors. And that's Joseph Kauffman, and I wanted to introduce Joseph. Can you just tell us about Hatch from your perspective?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Here.
Give Greg a hand for putting all this on. So as you said, my name is Joseph Kauffman. For those of you that are here in the audience and those of you that are streaming, I want to leave kind of 3 points with you. One is kind of me and my background and how Craig and I got to now. Number 2, what the value of Hatch Pitch is for those of you that are pitching either as companies or as the extended family. And then thirdly, just some overall advice and guidance that I was given that I want to pass on to you all. So number 1, kind of who I am and how I got to now. In 2010, I was living in North Arlington, working at the Pentagon, trying to go to and from work every day. I got an Army assignment to move down here to the University of Texas and teach at the University of Texas. at my going away party for my family, some friends of ours were hosting a little barbecue, drinking some beer, telling stories. I was telling Craig Cummings and some other friends how my commute was driving me crazy, and I wanted to find the technology solutions to aggregate together all the data to make a one-stop shop for how to find all the modes. Car share, bike share, bus, metro. If scooters were around back then, scooters would be in there. And Craig overheard what I was talking about and said, that is a company. We can build something to help not just you and your commute, but other people. And the carry away for that is a nice segue into what Hatch Pitch is all about, which is I got into the idea of being an entrepreneur not because I set out to make money or build a company. In fact, it was the opposite. My original goal was to solve a problem, to be at home more with my daughters because I had just returned from Iraq and been away for 14 months. But just like Hatch Pitch, I couldn't have done it by myself. In this case, I had Craig Cummings as a co-founder who understood the business savvy, who circled around us the legal, the marketing, the finance that I needed to be able to push this dream that we shared together forward. That is what you should be doing here. Hatch, whether you're an audience member, you're a participant, or you're one of the companies, is more than just this moment right now. It is about the relationships you're building to learn and grow. If I showed you the original pitch deck of our original company, you would laugh us all out of the room right now. But it's only through that feedback, getting bigger, faster, stronger, by listening to others and growing that we were able to build something. It's the connections and the networks you meet, and it's not just the business cards you hang out with, but the follow-up that you do. And that's the last thing I'll leave with you, which is it's that persistence and follow-up. If you're not used to being told no, you're probably in the wrong business. If you're not used to receiving criticism, you better put on some thick skin, because the only way your company or product or service is going to get better is by listening to customers, listening to your teammates, and then ultimately listening to what's going on in the marketplace and being able to adapt. And so that idea of adapting is what kind of defines an entrepreneur. I think the definition of an entrepreneur is somebody who fixes problems rather than waiting for someone to fix it for them. That's why you're all here. And in my case, after Craig and I, we sold Ride Scout to Mercedes. We stayed working for Mercedes for a couple of years, trying to help them with their vision of mobility in cities. And then in 2016, we had a presidential election. You may have heard of it. Things got a little crazy, and I decided that we need more entrepreneurs, more entrepreneur-minded people with business experience in politics. So Craig and I together created another startup, and it was my run for Congress. And same techniques applied. If you'd seen me in my first speeches in the beginning of my campaign, they were terrible. But by the time I got to the end, we not only built a great team, we had a great message, we resonated with voters, and we built the single largest collection of Republicans, Independents, and Democrats voting for our campaign. I ran as a Democrat. We received more votes than any Democrat in the state of Texas out of 36 congressional districts. That's huge. We even beat the winners. We even beat the other Democrats that won in the races. That's huge. But the most important part about all that is that we built a team, and that's what you all are doing here. So it doesn't stop here. Whatever you do, whether you're successful with this company or you create other companies in the future or you leave the private sector to run in the public sector like we did, it doesn't matter how successful you are now. Just keep at it. After all, as Greg pointed out, we didn't win Hatch Pitch. We were second place. Came in second place, but we kept going. And in my run for Congress, I was second place, but that doesn't give you anything. What it does give you is a lot more time with your family, and which is what I've been enjoying. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Greg. Congratulations to all the companies, and thank you for the mentors that are here helping out. Thank you very much.
Righty, let's give you just a little bit of an outline of what the competition looks like. We've got 4-minute pitches. Some of them will come in a little bit under that, and then 6 minutes of QA. So we've got basically 10 minutes for these companies to get up there and present. We have a QR code if you want to quickly take a snapshot of that. Do we have a QR code for the judging for panel? Don't worry, it'll come up later if I jump the gun on that. Everybody in the room should also have received an email that'll have a link to this to pull it up on your phone. So if you can all want to participate, you guys have got the link as well. don't worry. Yeah. Not too serious, as long as we've got other judges in the room that have got it too. And in terms of how we at HatchPitch are looking at companies, can I get the next slide, which hopefully tells me what it is? That's it? Oh, okay, sorry. We're looking at companies that have a sustainable business model, that have clearly no issues or flaws in the model, so no you know, death wish kind of things in the business model. That they have a defined value proposition, product market fit. These are the general kinds of things we're looking at, and that the team can actually make happen what they claim they're going to be doing. So that's how we have selected these teams. Our judges are all experts, and they will use their criteria in addition to that. But that would be a good way to go on. If you're in the audience and you want to have your first shot at judging, that's how we do our selection, and you can choose that. We've got a simple process to use. I think I'm talking about it later then, apparently. No, apparently not. So, oh, really? Okay. Please check at the emails. You all received an email today at 7 a.m. that has the link to the judging form in it. By the way, the bit.ly link. Oh, okay. Good one. Okay. Just not for you guys.
We're already disqualified.
Yeah. Well, you guys need to speak more than judge. So. So having said that, so as I mentioned, we've got some judges here, and they're the primary ones who speak. And we've got a bunch of judges in the audience. What I'd like to do now is, seeing that these guys are going to be on screen quite a bit, I want to have each of you, Craig, Katie, and Hubert, if you guys can just quickly give us a 30-second intro.
Sure.
Starting with Craig. Yeah.
Craig Cummings. I am Joseph Kopser's co-founder from Ride Scout, and without HatchPitch and that second place finish, we would never have achieved our potential. So thanks, Greg, for having me back. I was a West Point graduate, 17 years in the Army as an intelligence officer, had to scratch the proverbial entrepreneurial itch, got out, became an entrepreneur, had a couple of exits, the most recent being the one to Mercedes-Benz. Meanwhile, I started investing, and after I finished the earnout with Mercedes, I raised a fund along with Kelly Purdue in Los Angeles called Moonshots Capital. We raised a $20 million fund that's focused on late seed investments. We're heavy on backing military veteran tech entrepreneurs, but not exclusively. And we're off and running, and I'm based in Austin, Texas.
Cool. Thanks. Greg. Katie.
Hi, everyone. Katie Baker, Kauffman Foundation. I've been there for about 12 years. If you're not familiar with the Kauffman Foundation, we're about a $2.5 billion foundation. We're a grant-making organization that focuses in both education and entrepreneurship. I'm on the entrepreneurship side of the house. That means we give away about $130 million in grants annually to help companies grow and scale. And so I've been a South by Accelerator, well, no longer Accelerator, pitch coach for like 8 or 9 years. I can't really remember how long. No. 9 years. Yay. I think I get a prize next year, right?
You get a gold watch.
Yes, yes. And I've been helping with this particular competition. This is only my second year. But I'm a pitch coach for a variety of other competitions. I run all of kind of our fringe experimental things at the foundation. We have, as you can imagine, pretty tight rails around what we normally fund. So I get to do the experimental, really fun stuff. So, great. Nice to meet y'all.
Hi, my name is Hubert Zaitchik. I run Health Wildcatters. I'm going to be looking forward to my gold watch. Mine's only silver right now, so it's going to be great. 10 years, if you say so. I've been also a advisor and judge for the South by Southwest pitch for many years. Our Health Wildcatters is a healthcare seed accelerator in Dallas. We started it 5-6 years ago, and my personal background is in healthcare, so I've got many more years of healthcare and healthcare startup experience. If you haven't heard of us, we're in Dallas. We love Austin startups, and really, really happy to be here again. Been at Hatch Pitch a few times, so thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so we are about to start pitching. So again, you've got about 4 minutes. I know some of you have chosen to do a little bit less, and that's awesome. And then we'll have the Q&A from the judges, and I'll MC that. Is our mic guy going to give our presenters a mic? Thank you. Sorry, that was unscripted there. So first up, we have a company from Dallas called Mambo, and I want to introduce Michelle Kaiser to, I think it's on. Oh, you're on it. Sorry. You're
Is it on?
Deanna, sorry, you'll have to.
Testing. Is it working?
It's going, yeah. You're not, yeah, it's just going on the YouTube.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Deanna Charles, and I'm the founder of Mambo. We are a B2B software solution for communities to help them engage with their members. And why does this matter? Well, depression and anxiety is now costing society $262 billion per year. The number one cause cited is lack of communal attachment, which basically means the lack of deep, meaningful relationships. And actually, this public health concern is greater than cigarette smoking and obesity combined. So we believe the underlying cause to be inefficiency. We are bombarded with information from our communities in traditional means, which are static, such as print and email newsletters. Yet communities are dynamic, and things are changing all the time. So we decided that we wanted to capture this positive energy with all the pickups, pop-ups, drop-ins, and we came up with Mambo. So Mambo is a web app that streamlines communication. And basically, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. First, you follow categories of interest. Second, you sign up or save activities that are of interest. And third, you view your schedule and go. And so we like to say you're in the know, on the go. And so for members, they receive organized activities and real-time push notifications. And for the customer, which is the community, they receive advertising revenue and also data analytics to improve the member experience. Our competitive advantages are that we're intuitive enough for senior citizens to use, which has been evidenced last summer. We have a contribution feature. Basically, that means if you have interests or talents that you want to share, you can do so through our roles and permissions and through the pending aspect. We also are an enterprise software, which basically means you can belong to multiple communities, and we have instant scalability. Mambo charges a one-time onboarding fee of either 50 cents if you're a nonprofit, or, I'm sorry, the one-time onboarding fee is either $1,250 up to $5,000, and the monthly active user fee is either 50 cents or $1, depending if you're a nonprofit or for-profit. The U.S. market potential is huge. Right now, according to our estimates of our 3 verticals, which are institutions, schools, and lifestyle communities, we are estimating the market to be $460 million per year. These are some examples of our target customers based upon our personal relationships. Now, this is where we've been and where we're going. Last summer, we launched at Chautauqua Institution in upstate New York, and we had 3,500 users, primarily senior citizens. And so they enjoyed our platform enough to renew their contract. And since then, we have signed a 3-year deal with a similar institution called Lakeside, Ohio. We have a very experienced and capable team. In fact, all of our board of advisors have either served on as C-level positions in private or public entities. These are some of our user testimonials at Chautauqua last summer, which is why they renewed their contract with us. And I have many incidences personally that I experienced that were extremely encouraging. And so just to summarize Mambo, what we try to do is capture positive energy, promote shared experiences, and create a sense of belonging, because that is really the key to emotional health. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, now over to the judges for
Yes,
your Q&A.
love to answer any questions.
We have lots.
Oh, great. Okay, bring them on.
Quickly, I guess it's kind of two questions rolled into one, but trying to understand what makes you different. There seems like a lot of competition in this space. I was trying to think of all the different things that are similar.
Right.
And it seems like there's a lot. So I don't know that I understand what makes you different from the rest of them, like Meetup and Facebook and
Exactly.
Nextdoor and like all of these other things.
No, that's a great question.
And then like after you tell me that, help me understand what's your customer acquisition.
Okay. First of all, let me just tell you, I don't use social media myself, okay, because I've always viewed it as a waste of time. I am 54, and so I always wondered, what would I use? What would bring me value that would optimize my life as I walk around? And Chautauqua Institution is a place I've gone to my whole life, and there was way too much happening there, and people were constantly missing opportunities. So I created Mambo as an insider of somebody who would really value knowing what was happening on the go. And so when I look at Facebook and social media, they tend to draw people in. And we are a platform that tries to kick you off. So we want you to be face-to-face with people and really enjoy life outside of your digital device. That's one aspect that makes us different. Secondly, the fact that you can contribute to the platform. Say you're a new visitor in a new town and you're bringing some positive energy. How do you tap in with a Facebook group, with meetups? Yes, you can do meetup, but it's not the same as with Mambo, where you can share your talent and then post it and set a minimum number, a maximum number. You have nothing to lose. We're trying to eliminate social anxiety, which is huge. So with a meetup, you may not know anybody. With our platform, you can see who's going. We've built in a lot of protections that help pad fear, because fear is one of the biggest problems that people have in engaging with other people. And so I'm a former disease management specialist for Merck. So I created this as a prevention tool for depression and anxiety, but really it's an optimization platform to give you the best possible day that you could possibly have by allowing everybody to share in it. And so without being able to show you the demonstration, it's hard for me to explain to you how unique it is, but it's nothing like social media. And so I guess once you use it, it will be a sticky platform, because then you tend to rely on it. And
So members are not communicating inside the platform?
No, the
You're just pushing them
admin has all the
information
control.
Could you just give us an example? Just
Yeah.
1 minute, just walk us through. You said
Okay, sure. So
how this works.
Okay, so there's two platforms that basically are synchronized in real time. The admin controls all the content because they insist on it. The users can contribute directly to that. It'll fall into pending, and if they see, oh, somebody wants to have a soccer game on a beautiful day, no harm there, they post it, and they get to post it in the categories in which it applies. So the user gets to use information that's coming directly from the admin, but the admin is always in complete control. That's also different on social media, where you have Facebook groups and there's really no admin element, which is why Facebook's in a lot of trouble that they're in today, and a lot of chat groups are in trouble. So we feel that communities want to engage their members, and they also insist upon having control. The user wants to just have something organized instead of, bulletin boards that say 15 different things starting and ending at different times. You can't remember that when you're walking around. So like Pinterest, you get to pin things, and then on your schedule they fall in line so that it kind of reminds you, oh, what could I be doing right now? I could be doing that. I could be doing this. So it's kind of like having a community in your pocket.
Can you talk about that community, that 3,500 person
Yes.
community? Like,
So what we did,
metrics?
yes. So we hard-coded the bus and shuttle tracker for them because there's a lot of seniors at Chautauqua. And so when they were walking around, they could just one click see where all the buses and shuttles were. They also had a one-click button that said what's happening. Thousands of activities. They could just see, it's like a Reddit feed of activities, tells you what date and time in order, and then they just automatically expire. If somebody had a dance group that they wanted to publicize, it would just naturally fit right in where it's supposed to be. So it's very fast and it's very fun. And then Chautauqua decided one week they wanted to host an Olympics. They created a new category called Olympics, and they put it on the homepage. People just naturally started gravitating towards it. So I like to think of Mambo as like a coral reef, because in the ocean, if you put just even a fake coral reef there, fish will flock to it. They will gravitate to it. Things will start happening. And so Mambo provides a social framework for your community. That's the best way I can describe it. And anybody who has a great idea can then propose it, and if the admin likes it, they will post it. It's unusual, but it is a way to make people feel that they belong to their community, and it gives them a way to express themselves. And that's kind of the key, is allowing for individual expression. Because people feel alone, and one way to combat that is to help people realize that their community is supporting them. Like even schools, people wander around. There's a lot of kids who feel isolated within their schools, and it's completely unnecessary. Because if they have a good idea, why not share it? Why not put all the ideas out there and see what people really want, see what resonates with the whole community? Great. That's the point. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Deanna. Up next, we have from Philadelphia, we have a company called eHealth Now, and Kelly is our presenter. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you very much. Please raise your hand if any of you or your family has been touched by cancer. I was. My beloved grandpa passed away because of lung cancer in China, where the quality of care is much worse than it is in the US. And since then, I was determined to close this gap to make the world-class cancer care available wherever it needs the most. Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Xu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of eHealth Now. China, unfortunately, consists of almost 1/3 of the global newly diagnosed cancer patient. And that number has increased by 40% in the past 5 years. And the 5-year average survival rate in China is less than 30% versus 70% in the US. So we're talking about 2.5 times worse in China. Clearly, it's a very large market, fast growing with clear unmet need. Unfortunately, the existing solutions on the market fail to address this tragedy. We have created a unique solution that be able to address this problem through fourfold. Number one, we have built 16 US-China teleconsultation centers within the top hospitals in China to develop the personalized treatment plan that currently do not exist. Second, we're exclusive partner with the only hospital in China can legally deliver US FDA-approved therapies. 3, we have created a cancer delivery network nationally in China. And 4th, we have created our own proprietary cloud-based integrated technology to be able to streamline the solution. By doing so, we're able to bring world-class cancer care at much lower cost. On the US side, we have over 1,000 hematologists and oncologists in our US-China consultation network, and working with 8 top institutions, adding 2 more. On the China side, we have secured partnership with 16 top-tier hospitals in China from 5 top cities, treating over 100 million patients. And those hospitals are like the MD Anderson US Memorial Sloan Kettering equivalent in the US. And because the technology did not exist when we built this to deliver the user experience we wanted, so we have created our own integrated platform that can translate Chinese and English seamlessly with screen sharing and video conferencing function embedded. And we make money by keeping a portion of the teleconsultation fee, the treatment delivery fee, and the cost of medicine. And patients pay us out of pocket or through their insurance. And we already got on the formulary of 2 major insurance groups in China, including one of the largest reinsurance groups in China, which put us directly into 90 commercial insurance directly. And since we went live in February 2018, we had treated over 230 patients. We had gained revenue of over $300,000, and we have raised over $2.2 million. And we have been talked about many times on the press, and we have earned money rewards. And most importantly, we love the impact we're making on the patients. Patients love us because now they have access to the world-class cancer care. Chinese doctors love us because now they have access to top US doctors and therapies. US doctors love us because now they can help people whoever in need the most. And we are a team of over 20 committed and experienced team members. Myself, I have led over $1 billion joint venture investment for Disney, and Dr. Zhao, who is a serial entrepreneur, has raised over $300 million. We're eHealth now, and we're determined to make the world-class cancer care available wherever it needs the most. If you're willing to help to make this a reality, please contact me afterward. Thank you.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you.
So did I get this right? It's a telemedicine consultation right now, right? So you're not treating Chinese patients in the U.S., or is that also part of it?
The philosophy is to optimize the local treatment plans in China so that we can lower the cost as much as possible to make it accessible to the bigger population. However, around 5% of our population do need access to the non-US FDA approved drug, which we can now deliver even through the only hospital we're piloting. So most of it involve clinical trials, and they will come to the US for that.
Okay, so in other words, what I was getting at was, if a U.S. doctor got on the consultation and said, "Hey, here's what's going to save your life," and in China, on the receiving end, the physician says, "Well, we don't have access to this drug," then that wouldn't be good. So you're saying that's a very small amount of people where that happens. All the treatments available in the U.S. are available in China as well.
No, actually, let me clarify. Okay. There are actually 5 to 7 years gap between U.S. FDA-approved therapy versus China. So what we do is that when it involves those kind of non-approved therapies, we are the exclusive partner with Hainan Boao Super Hospital, which is the only hospital in China can legally deliver. It's like a medical special zone. That's the only hospital can deliver U.S. FDA-approved drugs. So they will go there. But however, for the 5%, which is involve clinical trial, which are the drugs not even approved in the U.S., we send them here.
Okay, so that's the solution there if it's something that's not available right now.
Correct.
Okay. And the physicians in China that you're partnering with, is there some sort of subcategory of people that want to use this as opposed to just the general? Is it specialty cancers? Is it very complicated cases, or is it focusing on anything in particular? Because at some point, they're well trained too, and they're saying, "Well, I can treat you, and I'm not terrible. I'm very good myself." So it's a little bit of a let's call the Americans. They got all the answers. It works really well. So.
Yeah. So I think your question is about what are the target segments, and the most question is about what are the motivation for the Chinese physician to get involved from the beginning. That's a very good question, which is our key differentiator. Is the Chinese physicians are involved for both financial and non-financial reason. Financial reason is because those are hospital-wide contract, so they can gain their share very clearly on a very structured way. And then second, on the non-financial reason, is one is they can increase their reputation internationally, because by getting on the consultation on the other receiving end, we're talking about U.S. top physicians. So they are colleagues, and then so they are able to make their research and their name well known internationally. That's number one, where they're a free PR tool to do so. And then second is the academic research reason. So we have actually, so China, as you know, is 1/3 of the newly diagnosed cancer patients are from China, so they have a huge patient pool. However, they lack the ability to conduct high-level research, particularly for the niche specialty area, versus the opposite in the U.S., which we are very good at research at the very technology, but however, with lack of the patient population and the data to do so. So by doing the, the academic collaboration, they're able to make the advancement in the research part even faster.
So are the cancer patients in China direct patients of the U.S. oncologist, or does it go through a doctor in China to the patient?
Sure. So there are two ways. So first is the out-of-pocket way, so which is the patient will get referred by their Chinese partnering physicians. And then the second way is the insurance way, which we have our own case manager to kind of triage the patient.
Because I didn't know if there was licensing issues where U.S. doctors could practice in China, if that's an issue. So you maybe just say yes or no. And then have you billed this through United or CareFirst? I saw that you have traction, you're making money, but have any of the big insurance carriers paid for this?
Sure. So 2 questions. One is the U.S. physician subject to liability? No, because it's a truly second opinion consultation by legal standard. So all the liability are bear on the China partnering side. And second question, who are the insurance we got on formulary with? Those are China-based insurance. One's Reinsurance, RJA, Reinsurance Group of America, which they are direct clients. There's 90 different direct insurance. So we are on their formulary. And the second one is called Fuxing Insurance, which is one of the largest insurance in China as well.
And they've paid U.S. doctors for their services.
They pay us, and we get a share to U.S. doctors.
Okay.
Can you help me understand scalability of this idea?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like if the U.S. doctors, even though they're a second consultation, I'm having a hard time understanding they have their own patients. Like, how does that work as far as time and scaling with such a large population of China having cancer?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So two part. Within the next 3 years, currently, even we don't expand our network, it's sufficient to support our need. So, but within 3 years, so our plan is that through this academic exchange and consultation, it's a more academic component training to it. So the Chinese physician will get more in tune in terms of their systematic approach. But however, when it comes to harder disease, that's where we do the collaboration. So so that's hopefully that address your question.
Thanks so much. Okay, we're going to take just a few seconds to catch our breath. I want to go back to quickly flash up the scoring sheet, the link, and we know that the bit.ly works, and maybe or maybe not the QR code should work for you as well. And so just a reminder that if you tuned in late, everybody in the world, including everybody on YouTube and everybody in this room, as well as our judging panel, is able to judge the competition. I want to mention as well, if you scroll down a little bit from the actual ranking section, there's an area where you can leave notes for each one of the teams. So please go ahead and capture your notes there. And if they seem appropriate, then we'll share them. So you can leave me notes if you want to in there. Although if you about the teams, there's a separate thing that you can share notes about the event at the bottom of that. Just as a reminder. So we do love to capture your feedback. For those of you who jumped the gun and submitted your rankings already, I have no idea what's going to happen to those votes. Now the cool thing is, you can go back and modify your votes, and I do encourage you to do that, especially if you want to put in some comments for the teams after the fact. So once again, the bit.ly up there absolutely works. Should be easy enough to pop in if you remember that.
The capital H. If you do a lowercase h, it won't.
Okay.
Capital H.
So capital H for the hatch part of the bit.ly. Good catch. Okay. And so are we ready for the next one? So this is a New York company, but I do happen to know that the presenter has come to us all the way from Sydney, Australia. And she actually got here, I think, a little bit before I did today. So she's way the hell better at navigating Austin's traffic than most of us. So let me welcome Edwell Energy, and Crystal is going to present for them. Hey, it's great to have you here.
Thanks so much, Greg. Hey, everybody. So my name's Crystal. Are you worried about climate change like I am? Yeah, of course you are. The average global temperature is rising, our oceans are rising, polar bears are having to develop a taste for Russian pirog. We are in a climate crisis right now. Do you know what to do to become more environmentally responsible? Maybe a little bit, not quite sure. Well, look, you're not alone, either in the feeling of concern or in the feeling of confusion about what to do and how to act on that concern. So we at Edwell Energy are passionate about saving the planet. The biggest impact that we can make is to reduce our carbon footprint. But what is that, and how is it calculated, and therefore, how can I reduce it? So the other thing that we're really passionate about is education, because it is through this that we can empower the people of the world globally to mobilise and act on that climate change. In 2018, 72% of the US population were worried about global warming. That's a huge percentage. 75% of millennials, and they make up the large proportion of those concerned about the environment, would actually spend more to buy sustainable goods. And we have an app that is going to provide the solution for everybody. With the carbon footprint data of nearly 3 million consumer goods and services so far, and that number is growing, we can empower the users to reduce their carbon footprint simply by shopping smarter. We'll also be empowering them with education through our bite-sized educational articles on environmental and sustainability issues. And thirdly, most importantly, perhaps, we'll be capturing buying behaviours, and we can use that to influence the sustainability efforts of manufacturers and retailers. We're opening a brand new door here. No one is doing what we're doing right now. So to that end, we actually have trouble finding or having a concrete figure for the value of our data. Largely because up to this point, no one has been able to tell us, or we can't quantify how much more a sustainable shopper is willing to spend until now. So with the data from our app, we can tell you that for a sustainable toothbrush, our average sustainable shopper is willing to spend 8% more. We're going to be running a business model, a subscription business model, with the businesses that we partner with. They will be charged $2 per user per quarter for that user data. In addition, they'll be charged per product item that they choose to view the information for. We're not alone in the region of environment, obviously. We've got other apps that are providing carbon footprint data, and there are lots of companies out there that provide shopper data, but no one but Edwell Energy is providing a really all-encompassing view for our user, a total carbon footprint picture, and a really unique data set for our businesses who we partner with. We're expecting this business to be really successful. By the end of 2019, we're looking at having a user base, an active user base for our app of 10,000 people. We're launching a YouTube channel really shortly, so we expect very rapid growth based on that. And we expect by 2020, we're looking at an active user base of in the region of 500,000 people. And with our 5-year plan, we're looking at having 3 million active users, and that's going to equate to a revenue stream between 25 and 75 million US dollars. Our data empowers consumers to be environmentally responsible while unlocking potential economic reward for sustainable businesses. So we want you to join us on this journey towards sustainability and a lower carbon footprint. Thank you.
So a couple questions to start. Great prezo.
Thank you.
Talk me through like a day, a user's day, maybe a week, how I would engage with this app. I'm trying to get my head around how often I would engage.
Well, it could be as often as you would like, and ideally that would be every day. So we have the ability to monitor all of your normal daily activities. So that's your commute to work, whether that be cycle, train, or car. We then, whatever you...
Are you going to recommend which one I should take? You said you're going to monitor it?
That's right. So it will give you the carbon footprint expenditure for that day. So you're able to then judge for yourself, if I was to take the train, it would be less, for example.
Okay.
Then when you are out shopping, you're at the grocery store, and with the app open, you can use the scanner to scan the barcode on the different products that you're looking at. So this is a comparative way of shopping. So you're able to say, okay, so this toothbrush has a carbon footprint of X, but this brand has a carbon footprint lower. So I'm going to choose to buy this brand today.
Okay.
So you're able to interact with it literally at any point throughout the day. In addition to that, we can have all of your electronic, so the personal electronic devices that you use, your laptop, your mobile phone, whenever you're charging those, doing your laundry cycle at home, all of that can be inputted as well. So it can be, I guess, as full a picture as you would like it to be.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Second question, my last one, how do you make money?
Okay, so that's going to be the data that we actually sell to the businesses to make them to entice them to be more sustainable. So we'll be able to prove to them that we've got sustainable shoppers that really are this untapped market, that they can really target their marketing and advertising to. If they're already a sustainable business, then we can help them to show that they can advertise that and promote that more. If they've got some work to do on the sustainability front, then we can actually assist them with that as well and show them that if they take that step, we'll actually be able to get them more customers.
I have a question about how potentially burdensome is the app for the customer. So thinking through the app, if I'm saying that I'm going to drive to work that day, I imagine you have to know what kind of a car I'm driving.
Right.
So like entering in the data, like do you need to know like what brand of dishwasher I have, or like all of those things. So curious about that. And then secondly, I've used several of the apps that you had up on your like kind of competition slide, and there are so many brands that they have zero data for. So I find that like I use the app and then I'm like, well, this is silly. Like I'm not getting complete data. So how are you combating that?
Okay, so first question, we have when you're interacting, when you open your, user account, you're able to enter all of those details about the make and model of the car that you drive, the brands of the things that you own in your home, and that's just a one time. So you just do that the first time, and then that's all saved for you. So it's not very labour intensive, and it's not very time consuming to do that. We've set it out in a way that should be that is fairly intuitive and not burdensome, as you said. Yeah, we've taken a lot of time to work hard on the UX. Second question. Sorry.
No, it's about having complete data sets.
Right. Yes.
When you're shopping, like.
Yeah, of course, and that's something that we've been working. It's been years of gathering this data to make sure that we do have that complete list. So as I said, at the moment, we've got almost 3 million consumer goods and services in the app, and that's just constantly growing. So we're just constantly increasing that. Sorry.
I just had to carry. Is it just generated by your team, or is there a way that can also be user generated?
Can't be user generated, but we do have a feedback system where if a user was searching for a particular product that we didn't have the data for, they could get in touch with us, and that would be a great way for us to have that highlighted to us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going straight to hell because I drove my car here this morning and it was congested, and I was accelerating. I was trying to make it here in time. I'm sure I'd have to buy 17 products that are compliant to make up for that. But I don't want to oversimplify it, but in a way, I see the money-making opportunity of the venture, which kind of has to be there to balance the overall mission. As in a consumer club, people who care that you have access to. Would that be fair to say? It's 500,000 people that have said they care about this, and now I can go to a brand and say, hey, we actually, looks like yours is the most friendly, environmentally friendly product. Would you like for us to make that known to our consumers? Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely,
Okay.
100%.
So building that group is the most important thing there.
Very important.
Can I ask one more question?
Go for it.
Curious about how you're creating stickiness. Like, it's one thing to create awareness, and like, yes, taking the train would be optimal versus my car or something like that. But like, there's sleep apps that like you see like, oh, I only got 6 hours of sleep last night. But what's kind of the trigger that makes people make the change? Like, gamifying it. Like, what are you guys doing to create like kind of that stickiness or making people actually make changes?
Yeah, look, it is actually gamification. So what we wanted to do is really tap into that human side of competitiveness that we've all got. Maybe it's a bit more innate in some people than it is in others, but it's always there. So we have included gamification in the next launch of our app. Yeah, so we think that's really important. So you're able to actually have a competition with with your neighbours. You've actually always got access to the averages in your neighbourhood and in your state. So you're able to kind of pin yourself against those averages. I'm doing better. I'm not doing so great. Let's try taking the train, for example. But yeah, you can also grab a group of friends and have that kind of competitive banter side of things as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got one more coming to you, and we are absolutely giving you Philadelphia this year. I don't know if you noticed, but we have two companies from Philadelphia, and this is the second one. Just by luck. So I want to introduce you to Chris from NeuroFlow. Take it away, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. My name is Chris Malero. I'm co-founder and CEO of NeuroFlow. And I'm here today. I started the company because much like everyone in this room has been affected with anxiety or depression in some shape or fashion. If you haven't yourself, you've known someone that has. A personal story, my story started 7 years ago when I had the privilege of leading a platoon of soldiers as an officer in the Army. And I had one soldier that was being treated for physical injuries at Fort Hood, actually just up the road here, about an hour. And he was also diagnosed with depression. He was referred to a specialist, and after 3 months of what we thought he was getting the treatment that he needed to get, he committed suicide. He left 2 daughters behind, and that's a leadership failure on my part. It's a leadership failure on the medical system's part. We could have done more. We should have done more. But unfortunately, this isn't just a veteran issue. This affects tens of millions of Americans a year. In fact, if you go to the next slide, we know that there's a ton of opportunity here to increase access to care and coordinate care. 50% of patients do exactly what my soldier did. They don't follow up with their first appointment. Access, getting the appointment is an issue. Stigma around mental health is a huge issue. And then if they go to mental health treatment, engagement with that treatment and adherence with the homework that they're supposed to be doing in between sessions, just like taking your medication, is abysmal. And so this is the opportunity, and this is really what NeuroFlow is doing. We're a digital health technology and analytics platform that promotes behavioral health engagement and integration into physical healthcare settings. For the longest time, it's been physical health over here, and then I'm going to get my mental health treated over here. There's no reason why that needs to happen. Our mission is to bridge that gap and provide these resources to the highest risk patients when they need it most. And so we have a mobile application, iOS and Android, that engages these patients with evidence-based therapy treatment. This is self-reported, self-assessed, and then we have an AI algorithm that risk stratifies these patients so that we can help coordinate this care. And that care then gets coordinated on our provider-facing platform. These do fully integrate into the electronic health records so that you're minimizing the effect of the provider workflow. We risk stratify them, and then we conduct the care coordination, making sure that the same thing doesn't happen to my soldier. Now imagine if that primary care provider was following up and was able to measure and understand how his depression was doing. One, he would understand, did he go to that appointment? And if not, be able to intervene and get him that right care. But then also understand that maybe his depression isn't getting better, and it's possible the physical health is affecting his depression and vice versa, and that we could intervene. So I'll demonstrate this with a little bit of a story. So Sam is 47 years old. He's a teacher, and he's being seen by a primary care provider for high blood pressure. Just like they always do now, they do a PHQ-9 to measure depression, but because he's using Empower, we do the automatic follow-up. This doesn't happen now. And we could identify that he's at risk. And we trigger his Depression 101 assignments. With the interest of time, I'm going to move on. 2018 was a big year. We have 300 providers and 130 health systems using this with over 5,000 patients. Next slide. And we're seeing improved outcomes. 71% of patients see an improved depression from severe to moderate down to mild. And in just 4 weeks, 67% see a drastic improvement. Provider feedback is positive. With the interest of time, I'll move on. We can address this in Q&A. Next slide. One patient feedback that really stands out is that they said they got the help they needed because they were able to identify they needed the help using the application remotely at home. We went from pre-revenue in 2018 to on track to make $1 million in annual recurring revenue. This year we'll do $3 million in revenue. We make money by selling this as a SaaS platform to health systems and health plans. 2019 is poised to be a great year. We're hiring, we just hired a senior sales executive from Athena Health. We have now 22 employees. The team is growing, and we are integrated with more electronic health records. And I'll close with, we have world-class investors. We raised $3.5 million to date, another $500K in non-dilutive funding, grant funding from organizations like National Science Foundation. And we are a team that is passionate about this. Matt is joining me. He's also a former veteran, a mental health nurse in the Army. And this is personal to all of us. We are the right team that was founded. I founded this while I was at Wharton. And failure to us is not an option. So I appreciate your time and giving me the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
Could you just walk us through the steps? So you actually, obviously there's a lot of businesses in your space,
yes.
But I haven't seen so often bigger numbers. So you're being used. You can show to first successes. Can you walk us through the steps of what actually happens? I mean, you measure some sort of progression in maybe depression, and then what triggers are then, I mean, is this a call to the physician? Is it their personal network that gets alerted, or
right,
or a friend, or is it designated? So kind of how at that intersection of healthcare and self-care, where does this play?
Great question. So we're not reinventing the wheel, to be clear. Like the model that we're enabling is called collaborative care and integrated medicine, and is well validated, proven to improve outcomes. The challenge is, though, a lot of health systems and providers are reluctant to adopt it, or adopt it in a lighter version of itself, because it's expensive to adopt. It requires more people, time, and then if they don't have the behavioral health background, there's a sense of reluctancy because of the liability issue. Like, I'm not prepared to help with depression or anxiety. And so the standard of care today is, if I see my primary care provider, they'll give me a patient health questionnaire, PHQ-9. It's a standard assessment for depression. They'll give me that usually once a year. And if it comes back positive, they'll refer me to the appropriate specialist. If it comes back negative, they'll give it to me just a year later. Obviously, we know depression might happen in the course of that year, and they're not doing that follow-up. And like in my soldier's case, where it did screen positively, they didn't do that follow-up to make sure, are you conducting that handoff? And then continue to monitor my depression. So if I was a high blood pressure patient, they're not going to just measure my blood pressure once a year. They're going to do a more continuous monitoring. And so that's what we're enabling. So in our system, let's say we're integrated into Epic Health System, right? The doctor identifies that I have depression in their EHR, just like they would today, but that triggers on the back end an invitation to the patient to download our mobile application. And then we automatically do the collaborative care piece for the doctor, the follow-up with the patient, the monthly reviews of their PHQ-9, so you're not just doing it once a year, now you're doing it monthly. And then based on the data that we're collecting, we could understand, are they more at risk, are they doing what they need to be doing, or do we need to intervene and coordinate this specialty care? So that data then gets fed back to the EHR, so the primary care provider or the physical health doctor can understand how my depression is doing, and then we can coordinate with that specialty care and do that warm handoff. And so it's really enabling collaborative care to happen in a more scalable fashion, removing the barriers to entry for the providers to adopt that model that we know works so well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess simplified, and I'm sure this is oversimplified, you do the PHQ-9 or assessments in much more, once you got a trigger or something, you can check in on that much more often. I guess what I was getting at, what happens? So you see.
So it depends, really, because
and is it a referral, or is it a call from the doctor?
So every patient is different and
Okay.
based on, right? So you might need to see a psychiatrist, and so we would be able to coordinate that care for you. But maybe the app is much more than just a PHQ-9. We have the evidence-based like CBT therapy tools built in there. And so you would just assess with journal entries. We have mindfulness content built into the app and can provide that to you remotely as well and engage with that data. So,
Rock, paper, scissors. Well, we may be asking a similar question. So I think PlushCare, Teladoc, Doctor on Demand, these other platforms, and I think they've gotten into the mental health care space.
Right.
So how do you differentiate?
those are
these
all
larger
partners of
platforms?
ours. So those are all partners
Okay.
where you're right, they're delivering mental health care. We're not the providers delivering mental health care. We are allowing the primary care providers, the physical health doctors. We're also using a lot of OBGYN clinics for postpartum depression. We're allowing them to better understand on when to engage with the teledoc providers to say, you need to go see a psychologist. Like, that would benefit you, whether it's through teledoc or in person. We're not providing the therapy.
Are they taking that PHQ on your platform?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
So
we
then
can.
that starts the whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then this whole model we should bring up too. Just in 2018, became reimbursable under new insurance codes that came out. So the providers can get paid an additional $50 per patient per month on average for doing this activity, which has helped our scaling as well.
Greg.
Real quick.
Could Katie get one question? Is that okay?
He really meant it. Yeah, he really meant it.
How are you combating the physical health doctors that don't want to have to deal with the mental behavioral health side of things? This seems like it puts an onus on them in a way to be the ones that are continuously checking up, like, hey, you're not going to see your psychologist. So I imagine that there's plenty that studied what they studied for a reason and didn't study mental or behavioral health. So how are you dealing with that?
I think it's simply that we are acting as that, we're taking away the hard part for them to do that. We're doing the follow-ups for them. We're doing the care coordination piece for them. We're able to risk stratify for them. They don't have to guess, are you severely depressed? Are you moderately depressed? I don't know what to do for you. I don't know what to do for you. We could automate all of that for them so that they can adopt this better and better inform their mental health care in the physical health care setting.
Okay. No, go ahead, please.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Alrighty, that was our pitches. Again, everybody, please do cast your votes. The bit.ly link again, do we have that? To everybody in the world can vote on this, and definitely our judges in the room. If anybody's having any trouble, and I'm particularly talking about the guys and gals with the red dot on them, your vote is particularly critical. But anybody in the room, speak to Andres. And on this side, we have Massey. No, both of them on that side. Massey and Andres can help you if you're having any trouble with casting your vote. We're going to take about an 8-minute break now, where we're going to switch around so that we can do the breakout session. So please, there's a real short period to finish up your voting, to go and grab a quick bathroom break, and then come back in here. We've got 4 breakout tables, and I'm going to hand over to Sharon Wallace at the end of the break. So when she comes up here and starts talking, please gather around the breakout tables, and she'll introduce the 4 different groups that we're going to do. One of them is going to be live streamed, so anybody who's really brave and wants to be on camera, you should join the table that they're going to set up here. Is that correct? You're setting up that table here? Okay, so don't be frightened of joining this group, and that group is going to be, do we know? Oh, okay. So Roberto, you're going to be live streamed, Roberto, in case you didn't know. All right. What time? 7 minutes. Okay, 7 minutes from now, because I ate up some of your break. Okay. So 11:25. 11:25. Be back.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Vishaka.
And we're going to tell you what to expect at Hatch Pitch Summit 2019. Whether you're a finalist, judge, mentor, or attendee, you're going to be immersed into Hatch Pitch Summit 2019. If you plan on attending Hatch Pitch Summit 2019, you can expect to network with Hatch Pitch mentors, other finalists, and possible investors. You can expect to hear pitches from our finalists and thorough feedback from said mentors. You'll be able to attend and witness sessions that center on the topics of customer growth, product market fit, and many more.
If you're attending the Hatch Pitch 2019 live stream right here on YouTube, you can expect to see all the pitches from our finalists and the feedback from the mentors, as well as communicate with everyone else on the live stream to talk about your favorite pitches and your best startup ideas. There's also going to be a specialized breakout session for all the people in the live stream so you can interact and ask questions with one of our mentors, kind of get some one-on-one time right through YouTube.
We hope you attend Hatch Pitch Summit 2019 either in Austin or through the live stream right here on YouTube.
Links to all those events will be down in the description so you can check them out. We hope to see you in Austin, but if not, definitely check the live stream. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can know when we come on in Austin, and we will see you next video. We are Hatch Pitch.
Coming here, it's actually more magical than anything that he or someone could describe to me. I couldn't have thought of a better opportunity as a first-time visit to Capital Factory, so I'm so grateful to be here and hopefully share a few pearls of wisdom that are helpful for the attendees.
These events are important because they put people together who all are kind of looking to improve themselves, and we all can share ideas that have helped us, and kind of it's a mutual improvement between everyone.
There are people successfully doing what I aim to do, and so once you see it and you can imagine it, anything is possible, and the next question is, why not me? I think the second part of events like this is the networking. There are 850 people registered for this event, and so the likelihood of somebody that you're going to need to connect with or could connect with, whether it be a venture funder partner or a capability partner of somebody having skills or tools that you need to be successful, or just partnership or encouragements or friendships, the likelihood is very, very high.
Hi, I'm John Gordon, head of the Consumer Electronics Division at Bose.
And I'm Gordon Doherty, president of Capital Factory, the center of gravity for entrepreneurs in Texas.
Bose has a rich history of audio quality and innovation. For the last 50 years, we've developed room-filling speakers, noise-canceling headphones, and noise-masking sleep buds. Now, we're thrilled to launch Bose Ar, the world's first audio augmented reality platform, and our next step in audio innovation. Bose Ar adds a new layer of hearable content to the world around you, not visual content. Using a Bose Ar wearable, beginning with the recently announced Bose frames and your smartphone, this new platform lets you remain heads up and hands-free. With simple head movements, voice commands, and taps, the Bose Ar platform lets you interact with audio content from the world around you while your phone stays carefully tucked away in your pocket.
Over the past few months, Bose and Capital Factory have been teaming up to introduce the Austin technology and creative communities to Bose Ar. From meetups and happy hours to design thinking workshops and coding classes, the Texas entrepreneur community has been exploring and learning about this new audio AR platform, and the response has been incredible.
Bose and Capital Factory are teaming up again to find creators from around the world with the most innovative and exciting ideas for Bose Ar. In January, we'll be launching a pitch competition where developers, creators, and innovators will showcase their vision for the future of AR and compete for over $50,000 in prizes. And if that isn't exciting enough, Bose has set up a $50 million venture fund specifically for Bose Ar solutions, and we've committed to having over 1 million devices in consumers' hands by the end of 2019.
The Bose and Capital Factory Pitch Competition will take video submissions between early January and mid-February that showcase your vision for a Bose Ar enhanced experience. A panel of judges will vote on their favorite submissions, and winners will be announced at a live event in Austin in March.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for submission dates and more details that we'll announce in January. In the meantime, be sure to visit Capital Factory's VR lab, where new Bose Ar-enabled wearables will be available for you to explore, and our team will be available to meet with you and support the whole community. To stay plugged in and to learn more about this, check out the link below.
I'm Nick.
I'm Shaka.
And we're going to tell you what to expect at Hatch Pitch Summit 2019.
Whether you're a finalist, judge, mentor, or attendee, you're going to be immersed into Hatch Pitch Summit 2019. If you plan on attending Hatch Pitch Summit 2019, you can expect to network with Hatch Pitch mentors, other finalists, and possible investors. You can expect to hear pitches from our finalists and thorough feedback from said mentors. You'll be able to attend and witness breakout sessions that center on the topics of customer growth, product market fit, and many more.
If you're attending the Hatch Pitch 2019 live stream right here on YouTube, you can expect to see all the pitches from our finalists and the feedback from the mentors, as well as communicate with everyone else on the live stream, talk about your favorite pitches and your best startup ideas. There's also going to be a specialized breakout session for all the people in the live stream, so you can interact and ask questions with one of our mentors, kind of get some one-on-one time right through YouTube.
We hope you attend Hatch Pitch Summit 2019 either in Austin or through the live stream right here on YouTube.
Links to all those events will be down in the description, so you can check them out. We hope to see you in Austin, but if not, definitely check out the live stream. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can know when we come on in Austin, and we will see you next video. We are Hatch Pitch.
Coming here, it's actually more magical than anything that he or someone could describe to me. I couldn't have thought of a better opportunity as a first-time visit to Capital Factory. So I'm so grateful to be here and hopefully share a few pearls of wisdom that are helpful for the attendees.
These events are important because they put people together who all are kind of looking to improve themselves, and we all can share ideas that have helped us, and kind of it's a mutual improvement between everyone.
There are people successfully doing what I aim to do. And so once you see it and you can imagine it, anything is possible. And the next question is, why not me? I think the second part of events like this is the networking. There are 850 people registered for this event. And so the likelihood of somebody that you're going to need to connect with or could connect with, whether it be a venture funder partner or a capability partner of somebody having skills or tools that you need to be successful, or just partnership or encouragements or friendships, the likelihood is very, very high.
Hi, I'm John Gordon, head of the Consumer Electronics Division at Bose.
And I'm Gordon Doherty, president of Capital Factory, the center of gravity for entrepreneurs in Texas.
Bose has a rich history of audio quality and innovation. For the last 50 years, we've developed room-filling speakers, noise-canceling headphones, and noise-masking sleep buds. Now, we're thrilled to launch Bose Ar, the world's first audio augmented reality platform, and our next step in audio innovation. Bose Ar adds a new layer of hearable content to the world around you, not visual content. Using a Bose Ar wearable, beginning with the recently announced Bose frames and your smartphone, this new platform lets you remain heads up and hands-free. With simple head movements, voice commands, and taps, the Bose Ar platform lets you interact with audio.
The host is going to tell you very briefly about the topic that will be discussed. So, Kate, why don't you go first?
Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Bose Ar, and I will be talking. We're going to start off talking around blockchain and the hype around it and the reality of using it. Maybe break out into other emerging technologies and whether you should follow the hype or whether you should actually look for the thing that is going to solve the problem that you have in mind. So come and join me on the blockchain table.
All right. And go on to the table, maybe even. Right. And Roberto.
Yes, hello, my name is Roberto Moctezuma, and I am the CEO of Fractal River. It's a venture studio focused on growth. And let me make a poll here. What is the thing that entrepreneurs need the most? Funding, I heard there. After sleep is a good one. And then to get funding, what is the one thing that investors love the most? Traction, right? And when we've seen pitches this morning, and in every pitch competition, we see curves that are exponential. So how do you drive that growth? So we're going to be talking at my table about how to drive systematic growth. And that's a topic for a conversation.
Great. And as you figure out your topic, you'll follow your table leader, or because they'll be going to their table. So, Paulo.
So in the spirit of not... Oh, sorry. Hi, Paulo Machado. I'm here to actually talk about sustainable and scalable wellness. So with a big shift towards... thinking about what's happening with social determinants of health and thinking about what do we do to prevent the incredible cost that we have in our system. What can we do as a society and culture to actually think about putting wellness first and put it on the agenda so that we don't have to worry about dealing with just the train wrecks downstream, which we're very good at doing that. We're best in the class in the world in doing that. But from a wellness perspective, we're not there. So if you're interested, join me. I'm in the back table.
Thank you. Craig.
So I'll be talking about fundraising. And if you think you aren't fundraising, you are. And I'll give some best practices in fundraising, tell you how to be careful with VC guys like myself. So look forward to talking more.
Thank you. All right. And the brave ones come up front for live streaming. All right. And we'll call time. Right. Yes. Absolutely. We want experts as well as the people with questions. So it's a participative discussion. It'll be very lively and hosted by the table leaders. Okay.
Hi, Carl.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
So I actually am relatively new in this. This is my first South by Southwest. I'm a public health doctoral student and a researcher for suicide prevention in veterans. I'm trying to figure out, the main reason I'm here is to look at where's that magic piece of technology that can work with really prediction at a level that eliminates false positives to the point where you can actually react rather than a lot of risk models are like, who are the top 5%? Who's the top 1%? And if you're like a military commander and they say, okay, well, there's 3 guys in every one of your platoon that are in the top 5%, you really, and you know that historically you haven't had 3 suicides in a platoon. It's kind of hard to have like a strong response to that, but when it's just there's chronically high risk, but when is it that risk so proximal for suicide that we need to jump in and do something? So I feel like there's got to be a piece of technology and some smart people who know how to use computers that I can combine my mental health and military and veterans knowledge with to create a product that can save lives. And ultimately, like the value proposition, in addition to saving lives, because people care about that, is readiness for military units. Because you have a tragic accident and kind of or a loss of any kind, it disrupts things. But when it's a suicide, and as Chris said, that burden of guilt and that pain, that it's just so disruptive, much more so than any other kind of incident within a platoon or a unit. It's disruptive. So kind of how do we eliminate that while saving lives would be a goal of mine.
Great. Hi, how are you?
Doing
Michelle?
well. Michelle.
Hi.
Nice to meet
So
you.
nice to meet you. And what do you do at Mambo?
So for Mambo, I do business development, so I help to scale and grow the business.
Oh,
Utilize
awesome.
relationships. I figured this would be a good topic to come in.
Excellent, excellent. And congratulations on your talk.
Yes, great job.
Well, introducing myself a little bit. So I'm Roberto, and what I work is I work with companies typically that are in the seed stage, and I help them grow to their Series A. And we do that by systematically looking at how to grow their business. Right. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's start with you. How are you driving growth right now? When you think of growth, right? You put a couple of very interesting numbers up there, right? You put a number, if I remember, was it 10,000 users right now?
No, that's our goal by the end of the year.
Goal by the end of the year? And then I heard you say 500,000 users, right?
By the end of 2020.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when I was talking about exponential growth, I'm talking about a 50x growth, right? So one of the things is, let me just start that, like, where are you? How do you plan to achieve that growth?
So we're really hoping that the YouTube channel, I'm not going to use the word hope, we're going to be using the YouTube channel to drive that. Based on the feedback that we've had so far from our MVP, we know that our target demographic is really that sort of Gen Z and millennial group, where we really think that the YouTube is where it's at, so grabbing that demographic's attention. So we're launching that channel in a couple of months, and we think that that's going to, that'll be the key.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, and do you have customers right now? Or how many customers do you have? Because 10,000 is the goal by the end of the year, right?
Yes, that's right.
How many do you have right now?
So with our MVP, we had a usership of about 80.
80 users.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're starting to grow them, and then, but are you live right now? Are you starting to get some users every month right now?
No. So just the MVP. So from that, we then got the feedback for our second launch. So our launch version 2 app is coming in 6 weeks from now. And that will then tie in with the YouTube channel launch.
Okay, great. So a little bit of how I approach this, right, is that the first thing is to understand what are we trying to do when we're driving growth, right? So let's assume that you are, in your next rounds. Are you raising funds right now?
We're about to start, yeah.
You're
We've
about
not
to
done
start
any fundraising so
your
far.
fundraising, and you're calling this your seed round right now?
Yes,
great.
that's correct.
So let's assume that you get to your seed round and you say, look, we have an MVP, we have something that people like, the business plan sort of makes sense, right? And this might happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully, right? And then you're able to raise some money. Now, the question that I'm going to ask you is, what does the presentation look like for your next round? So when you're raising, if this is your Series A, how does your, this is your seed round, how does your Series A presentation look like, right? So let's assume that I am your Series A investor, right? Because remember that when you're talking to your seed investors, they're going to want to know how you're going to take them from point A to point B. So it helps to begin with the end in mind and say, what does point B look like, right? So if I were one of your investors in the Series A, right, what's the size of the round for your seed round that you're planning on, more or less?
In terms of figure, 300,000.
300,000. Okay, let's assume what would be the next round? It would be a round of 4 million, maybe 5 million?
Yeah, that's something that we haven't actually identified yet.
Something like that, probably. Okay, great. So let's assume that we're in that round, right? And you're telling me about your company, right? And so you tell me a little bit of introduction, which is going to look very similar to what you did today, because the company is still the company, it's still about these things. But now you're going to tell me that the company is worth 10 times more than before, right? So why? How would you tell me? Is it the number of users? Is it the number of dollars? Is it the number of carbon pounds of CO2? I mean, what would be your killer chart?
It would be the businesses, probably the size of the businesses that we partner with. I think that would be the real.
The size of the businesses, or
if we were partnering with Walgreens and Target and Walmart. So that would be, I think, that would be a real
carrot for the Series A.
Okay. So one of the things that I've seen in when you have venture capitalists that come into a company is precisely because they are not interested in linear growth. They're interested in exponential growth. Then what happens is that they don't care so much about a small linear increase in revenue. What they care more is that you understand what's driving that growth, right? So for example, in this case, what you're telling me is you have two markets. One is your user market, which are people on your platform that download your app and are using it, right? And the other one are these big corporations that are able to say we're interacting with you to get some of the data, right?
Exactly.
Correct. So now the question would be, do you understand how to create these customers and how to create these customers, right? And what does it mean to understand how to create the customers? It means that you have a repetitive process, right, for which to do so. For example, if you wanted to understand whether I know how to make donuts, you could say, make me a donut. Now make me another one, right? And if I make you a couple of donuts repeatedly, you would say Roberto knows how to make donuts. In this case, right, do you have a system that produces these customers for your app? And do you have a system that produces these customers on the other side? Does that sort of make sense or resonate, right? So then the question becomes, how do you create these systems, right? How do you transform for example, we're going to just put a video, right, into how can this be a systematic process? So then the question would be, what are your growth processes, right? Your growth processes typically are going to be, how are you going to drive awareness and how are you going to acquire customers, right? Then how are you going to convert these customers, right, into to activate them to become users of your app? You just download the app and start using it, right? And the third one is how are you going to keep them, engaged with the use of your app so you can get valuable data from them and retain them? So each of these three things, right? For example, and there might be more. This is just on the app side, right? And then there's on the other side. You have to have an answer of how you address each of these 3 points, right? Because, for example, when you say, how am I going to drive reach? Okay, I'm going to do something on YouTube. Yes, but how are you going to get people to your video on YouTube, right? And then how are you going to do that in a repetitive way? So if you put out like one great video that drives some users, but can you do that over and over again, right? So I can see that. And then once those people see your video on YouTube, right, do they actually download the app, right? And how does that look like? And then when they download the app, what gets them to then engage, for example, to onboard and put all their personal information of their carbon footprint, for example, in the app? Does that sort of make sense? What are your thoughts on this, Michelle?
So, mine is, we're Mambo, so it's a B2B software platform. So,
okay.
So we're on the sense of when we go, we're marketing towards customers, and our customers are communities and not their end users, which are the members.
So you're more of a B2B, absolutely.
Yes, yeah, we're exactly B2B. So for us, when we go and we get that community, and then the community, they are in charge of their marketing and getting their community members to download the app.
Correct.
So we, in that sense, don't have to worry about that extra leg of it. Our challenge is more just, okay, how do we get those communities? And so our approach has been more of a direct sales approach. We're targeting market leaders in each of their respective verticals that we're going for. So we've gone through and picked like the prime example of one and put all of our energy into working and collaborating in partnership with them in picking the best leader approach, basically.
So one of the companies that I'm working with today has a little bit of a similar approach in that, they will go into a property and then they will provide services to that property. Right? But what they found was that properties might be quick to let you in, and in this case, for example, I don't know if communities will be quick to let you in, but then they're not so good sometimes in terms of activating their users, right? So you might have to do some of that legwork. So for example, if I have a community, let's say of assisted living community, I might say this sounds like a fantastic thing to do. I might sign the paper, but then how do I get those users on? Right. So in your case, you would have just like she has two sides, which is the app downloads and then the business you're attracting. In the case of Mambo, one would be how do you target these communities and onboard them, right? And then the other one would be the users and how do you get those users to actually use and stay engaged with the app, right? And in doing so, what I found is that at least the way we do it, is that we begin with metrics. Right? And I don't know if this is something that you're currently driving. What kind of metrics are you using today?
So we use how active we track everything on this. So once we have a user that comes into our system, whether it be community, from the community standpoint, we track how many people on the administration side, as we like to call them, because we are dual platforms. We have one that the community uses to review and then one that the member uses. So we track everything on both sides of it. So we say, okay, how many admins do you have? How many events are you hosting? What are you posting? Like different things. We have all the metrics on that for the stickiness of it. And then we have the member side where we track how many people have liked it, how many people have saved it, how many people have saved it but decided not to go to the event. What types of events are they going to? What are their user feedback? So we track all of that.
So those are the metrics you're tracking. But what are you solving for? What's your 1 to 2 metrics, for example, on that side, on the user side, that you're tracking?
Mostly retention for the community. So how many of these members are back? So we're tracking.
So what's the actual metric? Number of users.
Yes. So the number.
That what?
The number of users that engage on a monthly basis. So how many do we retain on a monthly basis?
How many you retain on a monthly basis? So for example, if I'm a community and I have 1,000 members, right? Then what would be the metric for me?
So it's how many do they initially join on our platform out of that 1,000? So what is the percentage of adoption basically? And then either growing that adoption rate or making sure that it consistently engages and making sure that those people who engage, so let's just say we have 1,000, so 30% adoption. So we have 300 users. Okay, well it's great that those users are opening up our app and like looking at it. How many events do they actually attend? So we track how active are they actually being, and then we track that on a monthly basis to make sure that it is either staying if they only have the same number of activities, or if they're growing. We also track that as well.
And then you track that as a percentage of the community, or do you track that just on an overall basis as a percentage of your population?
With each community, we treat completely independent and separate.
Right. So and then you average these percentages.
Which percentages?
So for example, like what's your percentage of, for example, if I ask you right now, what's your average percentage of penetration, at 4 weeks in with your community?
Yes. So it very much, again, varies based off of, so we work with marketing directors basically. So the marketing directors also have a big role in how to attract and promote Software Paper. But for example, last summer we had a soft launch. We had a full scale rollout. So the percentage of adoption was on the lower side. And this time, since we're under the contract, they're doing full scale launch on this. So the numbers are going to go up increasingly because they are marketing to more people.
So one of the things that is interesting, right, is, for example, this kind of metrics, how are you generating these metrics?
On our backend, we track all of it just on our software.
Do you use any particular tools or just your proprietary software?
Proprietary software. We track.
So I don't know, are you developing any of these kinds of metrics, for example, on this side? On your side? Not yet? Okay, so for example, I think this is very interesting because you three are in different stages of growth, right? You're at the idea stage. You are about to launch your MVP and to try some of these things, and you already have customers. One of these things that is very important is to start thinking about these metrics even as you're designing the system. Because what will happen is that time is very limited. And you'll see that the months go by, the burn rate is high, right? And there's never any time in the development roadmap to start putting them in if you don't start thinking about them. It is very easy to be misled to say we're really trying for revenue growth or user growth versus really understanding how can you manufacture these things, right? For example, one of the things I recommend, do you do cohort analysis? Okay, so cohort analysis is, a cohort is just a group of people that have similar characteristics. So my point would be, if you think about, for example, users for Mambo, right? For, let's say, that from a community that you onboarded in, let's say, August of last year, versus October of last year, versus February, a month ago, right? Are you getting better or not at onboarding registers? Right? When you just look at total activity and you just look at total users, you can see a curve that's growing, but but you don't really understand why. Because your success is a combination of many things. You're activating more communities, right? And then within each of those communities, you're launching them, and you have to launch them better. And then once they're launched, you have to keep those users engaged, right, in a better way. Those are just 3 variables. There are more, right? But for example, if you told me right now my users have gone up, like 20% or 30% over the past 3 months, I would ask you why. So cohort analysis, what it does is that you look, for example, at all the properties that you launched in, let's say, August of last year. And then you graph your penetration rate to say this is the adoption curve, what we call it, right? The adoption curve of how quickly we were able to get them to, let's say, or target, adoption of like 30% or 40%, right? And then what has been our retention rate or our adoption rate? And then what you do is you say, let's compare, for example, the launch process that I was using in August of last year with what I was doing in October of last year with what I'm doing in February of this year. And if you do it right, you will be able to see that you should be activating these communities fast. So as you're starting to train your team to say, look, when you sign up, for example, to Mambo, we're going to give you a new tutorial. We're going to give you this new handheld service of how to onboard your community. Right? Then you should see an effect in terms of how fast are you able to get to maybe 30 or 40% of that community. So those are called cohort charts. And those are the charts that typically investors, like to see, because if you can start seeing some of these benefits even before you see an overall change. So for example, you might have a user base that is large, where the increase might not be that much, but you might say, look at the cohorts, we've learned how to activate these people a lot faster. And now that we know how to do it in a repetitive way, you can then extrapolate and see this is going to be the growth of Mambo, right? And you can do the cohort charts, for example, for activating communities would most logically be on community activation data. So when you sign in, how fast can you activate them, right? There might be some of your other growth processes might be on different things. For example, retention, right, might not depend on when you activated a property. It might depend on some of the new features that you're doing from an app perspective or your ongoing engagement. So your retention process, it might just make sense how are retaining customers right now versus 3 months ago versus 4 months ago, right? Things like that. Does that make sense?
No, that's great.
And then the other way of doing cohort is also segmenting populations. So for example, we have like this set of communities that we're going to call the A community or the B community, and then do A/B testing, right? Which is how can you compare them, right? So those are some of the things that you might also want to think about, which is as you're launching these things, how can you measure the different cohorts? For example, to say, when we start activating users, how quickly can we get them to put all their information about their products online, right? And then how do we retain them? What was their experience? And when you make changes to your app, how does that work, right? Does that lead to an increased user engagement? And then where are your drop-offs, right? For example, you might see that in many cases, for example, the problem is between the first and the second use, there's a huge drop-off, right? Because on the first one, I'm curious, so I'm going to engage with your platform, but then I go away and I never return, right? So where are your key points that you can focus your growth?
So what type of metrics would you then suggest applying to kind of building up the sales process and really drilling into like which factor is responsible for kind of the success of each?
Well, so every company is going to be a little bit different, right? But for example, in your case, I would suggest, for example, in terms of communities activated, right? It's you need to be able to measure the speed of activation. So one would be, for example, the percentage of users active at week 4.
What about even taking a step before that and kind of like the overall sales process?
Well, it's not overall, right? So the overall sales process would just be like, if you just wanted to show like if you're looking at the community sales process, not the user activation, right? You could just say like number of marketing qualified leads. That would be more of a pipeline. Number of marketing qualified leads. Then your conversion rate between marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads, right? And that measures the quality of the traffic you're getting. And then your conversion rate between sales qualified leads and your close rate. And that tells you how your sales people are doing. Then you get your activation communities, for example, at week 4, right? And then you can have like your retention at week 13, for example, like a quarter later, things like that. So starting to think about these metrics, and trying to pull them in is what we do with companies to help them grow. And normally they're very eye-opening because we understand that some things are working well and some things we never looked at that, right? And when you start dissecting each of these pieces, that's how you can then start accelerating. You need to be working in a startup in all of these components, right? Or in 3 or 4 of them. And that's how you get to your exponential curve.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, since I'm in the health space, especially in public health, normally we're measuring outcomes based on improvement of health. And while certainly that's important, what is the transition to metrics that investors care about? That show the value.
I think it depends on the investors that you're talking about.
Sure.
But normally any investor, even if you are an impact venture, and they care about things like quality of care, the impact on lives, and things like that. They're going to want to see also the scalability of your business model and the sustainability of your business model. So I think that when you're thinking about your solution, your ability to attract customers or attract visitors and then convert them into customers and then get value from these customers in a way that allows your business model to function is going to be critical for investors to be able to say, I want to invest in this company. Does that make sense?
A little bit. I realize I'm super early in this, but if my customer is the government or the U.S. military is the one we're selling to, I'm just thinking about what would that look like. So the idea of being able to go to say monitoring 100 soldiers to monitoring 1,000 to monitoring 10,000, if it could work like that, that would be fantastic.
I think in your case, the question would be, you need to find a customer first.
Sure.
Right, and a customer means somebody that has a problem that is willing to pay you for it.
Okay.
So when you say, for example, I want to sell to the government, right? The government is not a customer.
You're right.
Right? The government is a very complex entity. You need to find in this division of this type of organization, there is this person, right, or this type of people who are actually facing a daily problem. And they wake up in the morning and they look on Google, right? So say, how can I fix this?
Yeah, how can I solve X?
Right. And then you need to be able to present your problem in terms of that. And I think that once you do that, you're going to understand the motivations and the drivers that you might be able to hook on to then demonstrate the possibility for investors, which in your case are more, seed stage investors or even very early stage investors to start proving the concept.
Okay.
So how are you organizing your sales forces? I think that you do have very interesting startups, and I also deal with some of that, which is because it's a two-sided market, right? Where you have more like a B2B motion in the sense of your advertisers or your big companies or your community organizers, and then you have this B2C side of things, right? So how are you organizing and sort of looking at metrics and everything in these two places?
So for our sales and how we organize, basically we're starting with, again, kind of looking at the market leaders. We have 3 different verticals that we're going for: institutions, schools, lifestyle communities. And so we're targeting each one of those. We've gone in and identified basically using our network and also kind of market leaders going in through there. We are, once we have launched in that line of business, once we wanted to, then we're kind of expanding and going to the next tier below and being like, well, they have signed on and this is some of the things that we're doing for them. Are you interested in having a conversation? Right now it's a direct sales approach. But one of the things I'd be interested in getting your input on is kind of the value of using different marketing tactics such as, Google search, Facebook business, or just different avenues of that to more streamline it and go out other than kind of a direct approach, because we're getting good qualified leads when you're talking of qualified to close, everything like that. They're great, but it's in limited numbers because it is so direct that we're getting these warm introductions that can hold you for so long.
Yeah, so in that case, I think that the main consideration is cost of customer acquisition, right? And that's the problem with direct sales models, which is, at the beginning, I think that when you start a startup, the founder has to be selling, and the top executive has to be selling, because it's crucial to understand and look at the customers in the eyes and understand what they're reacting to. But very quickly, you start thinking about scalability. And the problem with direct sales models is exactly that, which is I bet that, when your founder, when the top executives go to a community, they can get them, energized and positive and say, yes, we're going to install this. The problem is how many hours you have in a week. And then if you want to then expand it, right, what is the cost of doing that? So one of the things to keep in mind at your stage, right, is also the cost of customer acquisition, which is just as you're getting these kinds of things of, what is your conversion rate, what is your different sales closing rates. What I do is I create a little table that shows, based on conversion rates, if I want to be closing these many deals, for example, what's your revenue target, for example, or your number of communities target a month or a year?
So for the end of this year, we're targeting about 5 different communities.
5 communities. Great. So now to have 5 communities, right, close, you need to have how many communities in your pipeline? How many communities do I need to introduce you from a sales perspective to get to 5?
And because we have those top relationships, we have a very, very high conversion because we do have those introductions that are either we know or
So you mean that it's not really representative?
Exactly.
But here's where you might want to go a little bit off base and try doing a few of these efforts to start figuring out what is your conversion rate or something off base. To start getting some statistics because very suddenly the relationships are going to, you're going to exhaust your relationships of your personal network. And then how does that look like, right? So then, for example, just building on this, if you need like 5 communities to close, let's say in a period per quarter, right, that might mean that you need maybe 20 communities to be in the sales pipeline per quarter. You get 20 communities per quarter, right? You might need to have something like, 50 qualified leads per quarter. So then that becomes an objective, and then you need to say, okay, how can I manage this volume of sales and how many people, you can have, for example, a salesperson might be able to manage, maybe 10 or 12 accounts, right? And then you can translate what's their salary, they can manage 10 or 12 accounts, right? What are some of the costs of doing some of these things? And you come up with, is that cost effective or not? So direct sales force is not necessarily bad, it's just costly, right? So if your business model sustains it, that's great, right? It's just harder to scale. And then in parallel, you can start thinking about other routes to market, more self-service, more of these kinds of things. And again, figuring out what are these cost of acquisition, these conversion rates.
Off-base strategies, which are recommend.
So for example, trying to get some lead, just for example, straight on the internet and website, and say, could we make this a self-service process, right? Or could we get some of these leads? And let's look at the whole sales conversion process, right? Up to where could we just have people work themselves online, right? So then they become better trials. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
I think we're about to wrap up. Any last question? No, we have no more time.
Everybody, if I can have your attention, please.
Thank you.
What we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick break. Not break. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. We're going to hear report outs from the breakout sessions in a moment, but first we're going to hear a few words from Josh Baer of Capital Factory. When he's done, we'll come back. So stay in your places at your tables, because then we'll come back to the report outs from the breakout sessions.
If you need another one, this one's ready. Okay. Oh. Does somebody want to go? No, screw it. I'll just hand this one. Great. Thank you, Sharon, for running the... as you hopefully all know by now, we're over at Capital Factory, right dead center in the middle of Austin, Texas. And we're, in fact, right in the heartbeat of entrepreneurship in Austin, Texas. And I'm very, very pleased to be able to introduce our sponsor for today to come and tell us a few words about Capital Factory and about Texas entrepreneurship, and in fact, anything he would like to tell us at this stage, because it's been a crazy time. I want to introduce you to our friend Josh Baer from Capital Factory. Take it away, Josh.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Greg. Great. You know, I'm just so glad to have Hatch Pitch back here again during South by Southwest. It's such a pleasure every year, and just another example of the great activities going on here and how South by in particular brings so many people together. Capital Factory is the center of gravity for entrepreneurs here in Texas, and grew out of everything here in Austin, and we're doing our best to tie together the whole state. And Texas is a really exciting place to be right now. It's the 10th largest country in the world, as if you measure the economy, and mostly because of it's a great state all the way across the board. But we have four really incredible cities that are four of the top 11 largest cities in the country, four of the top 11 fastest growing cities in the country, and four of the top tech hubs and entrepreneurial hubs in the country. And that's Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. And what's so special and unique about it is the geography, that they're so close together, that you can go from any one city to the other just for the day. And so our pitch to the startups is they should just treat it like one big city. Because as much as Austin has a lot of stuff going on here, there's a lot to offer all across the state. Texas has more Fortune 500 companies based here than anywhere but New York, and none of them are in Austin. We have like big second headquarters for Apple and Google and Facebook and Microsoft and Oracle, which is like awesome for talent, but those aren't the people you sell stuff to. The people you sell stuff to is headquarters. And if you're an oil and gas company in the U.S., your headquarters is probably in Houston, and there's about 25 of them there. And if you're anything else in Texas, you're probably in Dallas, and that's where AT&T and Capital One and American and Southwest and so many big brands that are based up there, Toyota. And so that's one of the big pieces of the puzzle to tie together, in addition to all the great startups that are up there. And then we've got USAA down in San Antonio. The industries are really different too. San Antonio is military city. It's the largest military base in the country. Houston has the largest health installation in the country, more patients and medical institutions all in one place in the Texas Medical Center, as well as obviously being a huge oil and gas hub. And then Dallas is kind of the financial center of Texas, and it's also great in communications, in esports, in real estate tech, in financial tech, and a lot of different things like that. And then finally, everybody likes to complain that there's not enough funding, because pretty much anywhere that's not Silicon Valley doesn't get enough funding by any way that you'd go measure it, because they get they're more than their proportion, and so everybody's kind of stacking themselves up there. But when we say we want more funding, we're all looking at California thinking all the money's supposed to come from there. But there's actually a ton of money in Texas that doesn't go into this ecosystem, and it's oil money, and it's not in Austin either. It's in Dallas and in Houston. That's where all the billionaires in Texas live. And so that's really what our whole Texas Manifesto is about, is by connecting to get the state together. We don't do it all by ourselves. We have a bunch of great partners. We work with the DEC, the Dallas Entrepreneurs Center, and I see Hubert here from the Health Wildcatters. They've been a great partner up in Dallas. In Houston, we work with the Canon and Station Houston and the Texas Medical Center, and Geekdom down in San Antonio. And there's RevTech up in Dallas. There's so many great partners. I'm sure that I'm missing somebody. But that's really what we're trying to do, is connect all the state together. And as part of that, the big thing I'm excited to announce that we just announced last week, and we're really pushing during South by Now, is our Texas Startups Roadshow, which is coming up in June. It's June 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we're inviting investors from around the country and around the world to explore Texas on a 3-day roadshow from Dallas to Houston to San Antonio and Austin. And through that, we'll be showcasing all the great startups and technology here, and most importantly, actually developing relationships between those investors and local investors that they can invest in or syndicate deals with. And so that's TexasStartups.com, and we'd love to get in touch with any other investors that want to come learn more about Texas and plug into it. So thanks for having me, Greg, and best of luck to all the winners soon to be announced.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for having us. All right. As I said, thank you so much, Josh and Capital Factory, for having us again. This is awesome. I want to hand you back to Sharon Wallace, and she's going to MC just some feedback from the breakout sessions. So take it away, Sharon.
Okay, our first breakout group to report out will be Roberto's group.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, we had a good conversation. In our group, we had 3 entrepreneurs, and we had a variety of stages, from the idea stage to people who are just about to launch their MVP, and people who are already having customers and looking for scale. And we discussed how it is very important to understand what are the growth processes of your company and how to measure them effectively using very clear defined metrics to then be able to optimize and really drive for growth. So those are some of the things we discussed in my group. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now we'll hear from Kate.
Thank you, Sharon. So, small but perfectly formed group discussing blockchain. The first thing that we made very clear is that blockchain is a solution. It is certainly not the solution, but when it is applied appropriately, there are some very interesting things that we can do with it. The example that seems to reverberate around is one of World Food Programme in Jordan, who have used blockchain to make life better. So they have a system where they can use retina scan to identify refugees in camps when distributing food aid, and that system works perfectly. They've put a layer of blockchain in there for two reasons. The first is they are able to now protect the identities of those refugees, and the second is that they are able to save money. They have a commercial imperative, saving $40,000 a month at the MVP level, in reducing admin costs and reducing fraud in the distribution of food aid. So that's a really great example of where a layer of new technology has significantly improved the way that the existing technology operates. We also talked about how blockchain is nascent. It is growing, and one of the problems with having an immutable chain of transactions, so a ledger of things that have happened in the past, eventually that is going to get very, very big and very difficult to handle. So one of the challenges, so that we can embrace this kind of technology and make it effective in the future, is working out how to manage it as it grows. So that's what came out of our discussion.
Thank you. Wonderful. Good. Now we'll hear from Craig's group.
So we had the funding roundtable, and we had 3 entrepreneurs, 2 working on companies, and 1 who is Richard, who has an incubator in upstate New York and is trying to build some energy around an incubator. So we had different flavors of advice, but one of them I'll summarize is a lot of investing comes as a function of relationships, and relationships sometimes take time. In fact, a lot of the companies we've invested in, we got to know the founder, and it took 12 months of just getting to know them and keeping track and updating investors. So I would encourage you to, as you meet people, even here, to start to build out that investor update and just give, data points every month, every other month, and continue to get us excited about the opportunity. Some of the companies here are early stage, right? And it's going to be hard to raise money early stage. It just is, because everybody's gotten more sophisticated in terms of their investing. So part of our discussion was around finding the right accelerator and incubator, and you really do have to look nationwide, because you may find there's there's going to be a lot of health care incubation capacity in, say, Houston, as Josh mentioned, but also in Nashville and also in New York and some other places. So as you think about raising money, also think about finding the right accelerator incubator, because that's where a lot of dollars live, in and around these accelerators and incubators. And last topic was, again, early stage companies. If you can get that anchor investor, so you can say, oh, Greg is one of our investors in Austin, that can carry weight. So sometimes it just takes that one right investor, and there is a lot of herd mentality around investing, right? And so they want to see, someone who's sophisticated and has a track record, an angel, invest in you, and suddenly a $25,000 check turns into $250,000. So anyway, you got to keep at it. It's a grind. It is. I don't know what else to say. And VCs like me, we're in the business of saying no, right? So we see about 1,000 deals a year, and we'll invest in maybe 5. So just think about that and the flow and how you differentiate as you tighten your message. It's got to be really good, and it's got to get our attention and keep our attention. All right. Good luck. Thanks.
Now we'll hear from Paolo.
Hi, everybody. We had a great table. We had a really interesting conversation that kind of dived into kind of both levels. I was trying to get for diversity. We are very fortunate that people have a wide range of interests and experience, from policy all the way down to how do I execute at the tactical human-to-human engagement level. And I think that's the common theme that came through. It's all about real human connection on a one-on-one level, and how do we facilitate policies as well as technologies, as well as human interactions in a sustainable and scalable fashion. Don't have the answers, but clearly it was really great to have the team talk about it in that way, because it can't just be, well, we're going to fix this one-on-one, because not everybody can have a personal buddy / Sherpa that's paid for by somebody to go around. We can't all have that, so to speak. It wouldn't be scalable, obviously. And sustainability is really critical, because once you build it, you have to make sure it stays in place, because right now our culture is not focused on wellness, and that was very clear. We talked about things like just human connection of students as they go into new environments, going to college. We talked about things like people who are not well, and a central person, the family member, suddenly becomes a caregiver, and a lot of their time has to be devoted to that. How do we develop policies, technologies, and financial incentives, basically, to support that happening? So, great discussion. Thank you for the people who showed up at our table. That was it.
Great, thank you. Round of applause for all the discussions.
Thank you, Sharon. I don't need those. And I think I am able to talk without a microphone. Hopefully you can hear me everywhere. So a few more things before we wrap up, and we've got, I will jabber for a few minutes, and then we will get to the winners, and then we can all spend some time in the awesome Capital Factory Lounge. So without further ado, let me just remind you again about Hatch Pitch and our sustainability mission. At Hatch, we believe that every company should be sustainable. And what we mean by that is every company should have an environmental and a social responsibility platform. And we believe that the time to start doing that is when you start. So we don't believe that you should build a company that works and then try and figure out how the heck do we be a good company that's doing something good for the world, because too many of the companies that we know today, the unicorns, are failing miserably at doing that. So we need to change that trend, and we believe the time to do it is right now. Is it harder? Heck yeah. Of course it's going to be harder. We know that it's so much easier to find some money first and go. We know it's going to be a bit slower. But think about this. Entrepreneurship, with the advent of the technology we have today, is actually quite easy. So we are no longer asking the question about, can we do this? Is there technology that enables it to do this? I think we've gone so far past that. So that's not the question anymore. The question should be, can we do it? And can we do it so that we're making the world a better place? Those are the companies that we picked today. And these are the companies that we're going to focus on in the future. And how are we going to do that? We are starting this cycle of South by Southwest. We are introducing the Hatch Pitch Certified Coaching Program. And what it means is our coaches that we've been working with for years not only are the best coaches in the world. As Katie mentioned, we've been coaching for the South by Southwest Accelerator, now called South by South Pitch, every year, as well as Hatch Pitch. So this group of coaches is extremely experienced. What we are doing is building this group out. We're not only teaching our coaches the latest and greatest ways to efficiently move companies through the process, and we're going through a new phase of that now. It's a new phase that is different than lean startup from 5 years ago. We're teaching them that and working with them with that, and mostly they're teaching me how to do this. The other part about being a certified coach is that you have somebody that's vouching that you are who you say you are, that you're real. And I think for a startup, and that's been something that has been really good for me, and it also has tripped me up, is knowing that the person you're speaking to actually is coming from a good place, that they are who they say they are legitimate, and they know what they're talking about. That's what we're doing with this program. Here are the 4 coaches who coach these teams today. And some of them are in the room, and not all of them. We do the coaching virtually. In addition, we met Katie right here, one of our judges. She's one of our certified coaches now as well, along with the other 15 coaches for the South by Pitch program. So that's our announcement, really, in terms of how we're moving towards this sustainability process in our coaching. All right, so next up on the agenda is something that I probably need to, oh, he's standing there for me. Excellent. An announcement of winners. Okay, so let's just talk through this again. Everybody has had an opportunity to rank these companies that they saw today. And so we have 3 different types of judging. We have the crowd favorite, and we have the audience favorite. Audience are the people in the room. So we know that they weren't cheating, for example. And then we have the judges, as I mentioned, the 3 guys up here, and then the other 10 of you in the audience with the red dots are the designated judges, and that's what the awards are going to be. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the crowd favorite, or the crowd award winner, and that will go to NeuroFlow. Well done, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Awesome job. And don't go away, because I want to introduce you to the winner of the audience favorite, and that was NeuroFlow. Good job on that one, too. All right. And, OK, now you must leave. Because we're going to go on to the 3rd place judge pick. And we're going to pick, who are we going to pick for that one? Let's go with Crystal. I think you should come up here. Edwell Energy is number 3. Well done. It's worth the trip, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. In 2nd place on the judges is eHealth now. Is Kelly. Well done, Kelly. Well done. Whoops. All right. And for the number 1 slot from all of our judges, we are going to give this one to NeuroFlow. Welcome, Chris, again. Well done, Chris. Hey, well done. All right. Why don't we grab a photo op? Why don't all the teams come up, everybody, including all the teams 1, 2, 3, 4. And otherwise, I know you'll all disappear. Yeah. Oh, okay. The tall ones. I guess, should we do this? No, that'll look silly. Alrighty, thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate it. All right, so now is the day, the part of the day that everybody really came for, is to hang out with these teams and the rest of us and the rest of the VIPs at Capital Factory. You got a few minutes that you can stay here, but what I'm encouraging you to do is let's all go right next door here and just relax, get something to eat, have a drink on Capital Factory in the Capital Factory Lounge. And we look forward to seeing you all in the next Hatch Pitch, which maybe next year, but we might pull something off before that. So thank you all for being here, and love to shake hands and have a drink with all of you behind the scenes.